frustrations in the community.
And an interesting sight from Montana as they got some unusual visitors.
Plus, we bring you the latest on the winter outlook from NOAA.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Hey, only 30-minute weather show in the state. Glad to be with you right here for Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt.
And meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Wes, it was feeling mighty good outside today.
I know, and it was kind of windy this afternoon, very breezy, but it still felt comfortable, right?
I don't mind a warm breeze. Now, a cold breeze, I got a problem with that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we're going to have a little problem with that later on tonight because it is going to add a chill. Let me show you what's on the way here. Next big thing, we've got this system pulling away. Big trough over the eastern U.S., and it looks as though what's going to happen here next couple of days is going to keep areas to the north and east of us. We'll continue to see some showers into parts of New England, into the mid-Atlantic region. But as this system exits and high pressure builds in from the west, it's created quite a wind gradient that we have across Alabama today. But we're on the back edge of this trough, and we're under a northwest flow pattern, which means basically for us, we're going to be dealing with some very dry conditions for this weekend. And then we have high pressure taking over, and this is going to really warm things up, not only for us during the afternoons and during the daytime hours, but there's going to be parts of the country. I was noticing one of our sister stations in Memphis forecasting highs around 85, 86 degrees. So parts of the region will be certainly dealing with some much warmer conditions. As we go to our camera right now in Tuscaloosa, 80 degrees. Yeah, it still feels comfortable out there. But again, tonight, with that breeze still coming out of the northwest at 8 miles per hour, it's going to make it feel cool out there. But look how calm it looks. It's going to be a bit more active here in T-Town tomorrow. I know a lot of Tennessee and Alabama fans rolling into Tuscaloosa right now. 77 live look from Brookwood Baptist Medical Center. Look at the glow out there. Send us those sunset photos. We've had some incredible pictures that you've shared with us, but everybody's enjoying a clear sky right now. One thing to note is that coming up this weekend, we're going to have this also to tell you about later in the show. There's a meteor shower, so with the great visibility out there for this evening, if you plan on doing some sky watching, it's going to be a nice evening for that as those temperatures take the tumble down into the 60s for this evening. And still, again, you can see it's breezy at the moment, winds over 10 miles per hour. Looking at Wilsonville, just a few pick locations. We'll zoom in there closer. You can see around Leeds, there were some areas in there today. I noticed we had some wind gusts over 30 miles per hour out there today. So it was a hold on to your hat kind of afternoon and evening. But you can see by 8, 9 o'clock, temperatures falling into the 60s and overnight lows tonight near 50, but outlying areas, Coleman, Hamilton, areas north, I think we'll certainly see those temperatures down into the upper 40s. So, Lauren?
While frustration continues for some residents in Hoover over ongoing flooding problems, they got a chance to express their anger to the Alabama Department of Environmental Management in a meeting just last night. Residents who live around Indian Valley Lake say the runoff is causing some significant issues. The city says it can't spend public money on private property. But many residents say the flooding is on easements and that's not their property. The city is requesting to continue draining storm water into public waterways, but some neighbors are fed up with it.
I have serious stormwater runoff on my property. I've had 5 sinkholes open up on my cul-de-sac in my subdivision.
The problem is easements. The problem is stormwater drains. Not our property. We don't own the drains. Enough is enough, and somebody needs to own up, step up, and take responsibility.
The city is trying to get its stormwater management system permit renewed. ADEM is considering what they heard at the hearing and taking public comment until earlier today until 5 p.m. So that's officially closed, but because of that, they are going to be deciding on the city's permit.
Well, with the winds whipping across our area, winds have been creating some interesting things across other parts of the country. It was an interesting sight as tumbleweeds took over a community in Montana. And check out this footage taken from the National Weather Service in Great Falls. This phenomenon happened Tuesday evening as strong winds moved across the state. They reached as high as rooftops. These tumbleweeds, they just piled up and accumulated, completely covered driveways, front yards. Great Falls Fire Rescue posted on Facebook that these weeds can become a fire hazard, of course, because they're so dry. It's just dry tinder, as you can see there, especially in these dry conditions that a lot of the country is also dealing with. And residents in that area are being encouraged to bag those up as soon as possible. But if you've never seen the life cycle of those things, it's quite fascinating. As a plant, once it dries out, it detaches, and then you see the tumbleweed, right? All right, in Hawaii, of course, we're speaking about fire and the dangers. The recovery efforts continue there after those devastating wildfires in Maui. Here's Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman with the latest and an update on that situation.
We're making a lot of progress, but it is going to be a very long process.
It's been 10 weeks since the deadly wildfire swept through Maui, killing at least 99 people and leaving entire communities destroyed. On Wednesday, we got a major update on the recovery process, with officials saying that some 6,000 residents are still being sheltered in hotel rooms. Housing has now become a major focus of this recovery. The governor says billions in state and federal resources are being spent on rebuilding decimated neighborhoods, promising nobody will be left homeless.
That will have an impact on us going forward, which is why we have to be steady getting people into housing, steady making sure people can return to their lives.
But there are fears the return of tourists could complicate those plans. And with a moderate to strong El Nino effect predicted in the coming months, the island is expecting a flood of surfers to hit the beaches and hotels.
We're in it. We've already started it. Surfers might be excited about El Nino events, especially the strong El Nino like we may be seeing.
Meanwhile, FEMA is looking ahead to the next possible natural disaster and examining the early response to these wildfires, hoping to avoid a similar loss of life and property in the future.
We're doing things to focus on preparing the vision is for Lahaina to help remove the hazards, remove the debris.
And Maui residents are also being encouraged to help their neighbors. A new program pays families up to $1,500 a month for housing wildfire victims. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
And speaking of El Nino and those impacts, we're going to be talking a lot more as we continue our report on the winter season forecast. That's after the break, just 30 seconds away. Stay with us. As we continue our reports on the forecast for the winter season, meteorologist Matt Daniel checks in with the latest on the drought situation and our potential for possibly a wetter setup as we kick off the cold season.
Yesterday, we had the latest drought monitor that was issued, and unfortunately, we're seeing the drought continue to expand across the state. Here's a look at where we were in the beginning of fall in early September to now. And notice even last week, northwest Alabama pretty much went from a moderate drought to a severe drought. So that's in the 3rd out of 5 categories. And notice southwest Alabama seeing extreme drought, and the areas that are not nearly as bad as East Alabama in yellow experiencing abnormally dry. But the big question is, are we going to get some beneficial rainfall over the next several months as we go into winter? Well, we've been mentioning El Nino. It is here, and normally in the winter months, El Nino brings about a very active subtropical jet stream. It gives you a plume of moisture that spreads across the southern United States, giving us wetter than average conditions, and it's normally a little bit drier to our north. With that in mind, yesterday, if you were watching, we were mentioning that NOAA released their winter outlook when it comes to temperatures and precipitation. And notice for the upcoming winter from NOAA, this is their forecast. They're looking at above chances to see warmer temperatures for the northern tier of the country. As you go towards Oklahoma and Texas and that region, near average temperatures. And then here in the southeast, they're saying equal chances. So we could see at times temperatures that are above average and at times below average. And I just want you to note, when you see these graphics, they're very generic. In other words, if we say a high temperature is supposed to be 52, ends up being 49, that means it's below average, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to snow. So I just want to give you that idea. Precipitation wise, they're thinking because of an active El Nino, the southern portion of the country will likely see above average rainfall, especially for parts of the deep south. Florida, South Georgia, southern portions of Alabama, and Mississippi and Louisiana have a really good chance to see above average chances for precipitation. And we say precipitation because anything that falls from the sky is precipitation. It could be rain, it could be snow. But like I said, this does not tell you we're going to see a snowy winter, but it just says it's going to be fairly wet. So I know we have a drought in place, but hopefully that will see some major improvement. So in summary, as we go into the winter months, we're looking at probably an active pattern. And this could mean heavy rainfall events, maybe flood potential, could even be severe weather. You know, we have a secondary severe weather season. Usually that develops in November, December, and January, so we can't rule that out. And a wetter winter. Doesn't mean we could see snow, but hey, you get more opportunities for storms to develop. You just never know. We'll keep you updated on those outlooks. Things can and will likely change.
Well, we're not gearing up for winter just yet, especially with how ridiculously warm this weekend is going to be. Now, it's a different story for meteorologists up north like Kurt Olson, who says forecasting snow is one of his favorite things to do. As meteorologist Tania Michelle brings us this week's Mets Around the World.
Snow is definitely a good time. It's just when you start to get into the ice storms, you know, we've been seeing warmer ocean waters in the Gulf of Maine, so that's been increasing our potential for ice storms. That's when it becomes a bit of a headache. But yeah, overall, I would say my favorite are winter storms. I just think it takes sort of an extra skill level to, you know, determine what our liquid to snow ratios are going to be and how that's going to affect snowfall totals, taking into account temperatures, when the snow is going to arrive, when it's going to end, and what sort of impacts it's going to have on you.
And this weekend in Maine, some wet and cool weather in the forecast. Maybe they can send some of that down here. Well, coming up, we have no more solar eclipses this weekend, but a new celestial event to keep your eyes peeled for. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. If you don't have any weekend plans, and if you're a space geek like some of us are here in the First Alert Weather Team, you could catch the Orionid meteor shower this weekend. So it actually peaks early Saturday and Sunday morning. That's when it's going to be the best time to view it. Now, I will tell you, when I say the morning hours, we're talking 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. You could see 10 to 20 meteors per hour. It's really going to work in our favor that we're getting into a new moon phase, because that means the sky is going to be darker versus if it were a full moon. But I got to tell you, if you want to look at it, do it early Saturday morning, because Sunday morning more clouds are going to be around, and that is going to obstruct your view. So not quite a solar eclipse, but hey, even some meteor showers, wish upon a star, right, Wes? We'll take what we can get.
Yeah, it always, every time we have one of these meteor showers, I'll open my email and I'll say, hey, I just spotted a fireball overhead. And if you do see, you're out there enjoying some of this nice weather this evening and over the next couple nights, and you notice one of these bright shooting stars, just note that we do have that Orionid meteor shower going on. And it's going to be some great sky watching conditions with the current phase of the moon. Temperatures in the mid-70s, and notice the sky mostly clear. What a lovely view there over Hoover, Alabama this evening. Live look from Oak Grove. A lot of folks there on 280. I know a lot of folks are going to be heading down to Auburn for that Ole Miss game kicking off tomorrow evening. There's a festival just up the road here from Gardendale. We got a Warrior Festival happening tomorrow, so it's going to be perfect weather for that. Let's talk about our Saturday, college football Saturday kickoff for Memphis at UAB. It's going to be at 69 at kickoff time, but 78 there later in the day. And even though it's going to be kind of cool at times tomorrow, you still need the sun protection. Do not forget the sunscreen, the hat tomorrow, heading out to the game. Temperatures won't change much once we warm up close to 80 degrees in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I think it'll be a little bit cooler than 81 there, though, when you step outside of Bryant-Denny Stadium by 6, 7 o'clock. But the temperatures still much warmer for the afternoon, but then another big drop-off because it's so dry. Plan for some chilly conditions, especially at Auburn with that game wrapping up around 10, 11 o'clock. It is going to be cool there, so don't forget the light jacket. You will need it. And if you're looking for some barbecue to go along with watching some football tomorrow, we got the Chillin' and Grillin' Barbecue Festival that's happening. Sounds like my kind of event here at Vinemont tomorrow. The temperatures in the afternoon rising into the 70s. Again, beautiful weather for tomorrow. Notice the wind speed not quite as gusty as today, so those winds will back off a little bit. You'll have better luck managing some of those leaves tomorrow morning if you want to get a little yard cleanup before the games kick off later in the day. There is a hurricane. I want to quickly update you on Hurricane Tammy. It was tropical storm, but another Category 1 hurricane, and it's actually going to impact the Virgin Islands here as it moves to the north, and it's going to eventually recurve. It's not expected to turn towards the Gulf of Mexico, but you can keep up with that on the WBRC First Alert Weather app. But a dry stretch of weather Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we see that chance for showers coming back towards the beyond the 7-day, right there towards the end of the 7-day, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. Quickly, though, I want to show you, had a pleasure today of visiting a group at Alabaster, and I just want to thank Stacy Payton for the invite. Notice I had the guitar, so we had to do a little bit of Sweet Home Alabama. You know, it's almost game day, right? So, and I got to show you these cupcakes because notice all the hummingbird pictures on there. I got to looking, and they said, so you like, I was talking and a lady said, so Wes, you like hummingbirds? And I said, yeah, I like hummingbirds. And I looked to my right, and there's these big hummingbird balloons, Lauren. And come to find out, she said, well, I looked at your Facebook page and saw a picture of a hummingbird and thought you just love hummingbirds. So it was the hummingbird weather visit party there today. So I'm walking out, I got my guitar, I've got hummingbird balloons and my cupcakes. I was ready to go. But hey, we had a fun time and enjoyed singing some songs and talking about meteorology and, of course, weather safety. One thing I told that group today, and I'll tell you, is that, right now the weather is calm. It's October. This is what happens here in Alabama this time of the year. But in November, it will change in a hurry. So over the next few weeks, typically when you get towards the end of November, you start to get in a more active pattern. And right now I want to head to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. And Lauren, speaking of the long-range forecast, it does look like maybe just beyond the 7-day, maybe a little bit of wet weather finally.
Yeah, eventually we could maybe see that in the forecast. We have to get through the actual 7-day though first, West. But one thing we're also noting as we wrap up October, it does look like 6 to 10 days from now, the dominant trend in terms of temperatures is going to be an above above average temperature trend. So we're looking at temperatures running above average for this last week or so of October. So look at these temperature trends. This is looking at October 26th through November 4th, and these are high temperatures. You'll see through at least next weekend, could be seeing upper 70s, low 80s in the forecast, and then possibly even still warm as we go into that last day of October on Halloween, that Tuesday. But then notice as we head into November, maybe a little bit of a cool down in the forecast. But first we have to get through some milder weather next week. And then again, looks like, okay, well, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. Remember, beyond the 7-day, not necessarily a guarantee, but we're just giving you an idea of the weather data. Will it get down into the 30s? Not necessarily, but we're going to be keeping an eye on it to see if we could indeed see that cool down going into early November. But as Wes was mentioning, we could really use some rain, and it looks like possibly we could be seeing 6 to 10 days from now that potential for some above average precipitations across parts of northwest and west central Alabama. And that could have to do with the fact that possibly the weather pattern becoming a touch more unsettled by the end of the month. Here we are next Saturday, October 28th. We have a ridge of high pressure that's going to be in control next week, but potentially showing some weaknesses along that ridge that could bring the possibility of some showers, maybe a few storms in the forecast as we wrap up the month. So we'll be watching to see if we could indeed get some off and on rain headed towards Halloween. Right now, this particular model is saying, hey, Halloween could be dry. And then once we get past Halloween, we may get that little cool down as we see a trough of low pressure set up and start us off in November with some cooler weather. But in the meantime, you know, we're talking about the weather here in central Alabama. Let's go out to the West Coast where you want to get ready to pop some bottles. Grape growers say this year's crops are growing wonderfully. Above average temperatures and less issues with wildfire smoke are two reasons why experts are optimistic about wine season. Winery owners are looking forward to taking these crops to market, adding that warmer weather in the past few weeks has helped crops grow more quickly.
I think it's one of those vintages that's really going to be about sense of place. It's going to be expressive. Each vineyard site's going to be unique. Those later, longer, kind of mild summers allow really great hang time for flavor development. And so I think they're just going to be phenomenal.
And for now, the focus is on harvesting Cabernet Sauvignon, one of my favorites, those grapes out in Napa County, California. Well, today I may not have gone to California, but I did go to Talladega. Same thing, right? I got the chance to be a featured speaker at something I'm very passionate about, mental health. Got to speak at a mental health fair today in Talladega. Got to share my journey where I talk about not only dealing with depression, but anxiety. And it was a great turnout. Yeah, this was all about tricks to treating depression. We love a good Halloween theme tied in with mental health. Got to see a lot of vendors from the local central Alabama area who are there to encourage you to fight the stigma. And there's nothing to be scared of when it comes to addressing your mental health because, hey, we go to the doctor when we have a broken bone, right? If you've got a break in your brain as well, you need to go to the doctor. And there's Tabitha. She was so kind to put this on. She's a retired social worker and puts on an event like this every year. So I'm hoping to come back out and speak with everyone again in the future. Thank you so much for having me out. It was so great to meet people from the community, and we certainly have a lot of Fox 6 fans there. And hopefully everyone's going to be enjoying those fall colors changing in Talladega this weekend. Let's get a look at temperatures for tomorrow morning.
The monitor talking about Lynx 1. Yeah. All right, welcome back into Weather Extra, and how about some weather photos?
I mean, check it out, Wes, the Tombigbee River. Yep, said it correctly. A beautiful shot of the sunset or sunrise, and this one, stunning from Chelsea.
Yeah, keep sending those in on the First Alert Weather app. We'll see you back here. We got Sideline tonight. I'm back with a forecast update first at 9.